Major Saban Shelton was the overnight supervisor at Wynn Army Hospital on September 6, 2010.
I hear somebody running down the hall and knocking on my door. Boom, 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 boom. Sir, sir, sir. There's a guy outside the door with a gun.
Outside the door of the third-floor psychiatric care ward, he could see the man through the double doors. As some around him started to panic, Major Shelton was told the man with the gun wanted to see him. He took a deep breath and took what he calls the longest walk of his life.
I never forget when I opened those doors and I saw that gun. It was the most frightening experience I've experienced in my life.
The man was someone Major Shelton had never seen before. 29-year-old Robert Quinones had not been treated at Fort Stewart. The major introduced himself.
I'm the person in charge tonight. How can I help? He said, I need some psych now. I need a psych doctor, psych somebody. I need something right now. I'm tired of everything I've been going through. Every time I talk to somebody, they just throw meds at me, throw meds at me. You know how bad these meds make you feel? These meds make you feel horrible.
With years of experience as a psychiatric nurse, Major Shelton says he quickly realized he needed to de-escalate the situation. He began asking Quinones about his background. Over nearly 2 hours, held at gunpoint, he learned Robert Quinones had spent more than a year in Iraq as part of a quick reaction force, a company under frequent threat from snipers and IEDs. He'd been medically retired due to the effects of post-traumatic stress syndrome, was on a variety of medications, and had been drinking that night.
One of the previous complaints that he had from talking is that no one listened. No one listened. Everyone, that was a consistent theme here. No one listened. The doctors wouldn't listen. Nobody listened. So now I'm going to be heard.
And to make sure of that, in addition to the firearm he carried, Robert Quinones had entered the hospital with a duffel bag holding 3 more guns, a .38 and 2 assault rifles. He armed himself with some of these during their conversation.
He said, I'm ready to go out in a blaze of glory now. I'm like, no, we're not going to be going out in a blaze of glory tonight. And I said, you need counseling. You need counseling. If you kill me or you kill yourself, if you want to end the story, another veteran, kill someone, story's over. But if you decide to put the gun down and give it to me, I promise you, I'll do what I've always done. So I promise you, if you put the gun down, I will fight for you.
Robert Quinones eventually handed his weapons over and allowed Major Shelton to escort him out to waiting authorities. One of the last things he said to the major was, "I just embarrassed my family." At a home not far from Post, Robert Quinones' family was unaware of what was happening. His mother, Janet Gladwell, describes the phone call she received a short time later.
I got a call at 11 o'clock that morning from CID and asking me if I was aware of my son, being involved in this. And it's like, no, not my son. I said, he's in his room.
She'd thought he was sleeping, but soon found out that wasn't the case.
All I could think of, it's like, oh my gosh, they don't know anything about my son.
So she went in to talk with investigators, carrying his medical records with her to help answer questions.
What would have made somebody do this? And it's like, take these records and, read this, figure it out, learn what, he's gone through, and then say, how could he have done this? There's my husband that was in the military for 30 years, and my father was in for over 24 years. So, he was very proud to wear that uniform.
She tells her story about the son from a military family who'd signed up for the Army at the age of 24, been deployed at 25, and spent 15 months in Iraq, returning with horrible memories of being under fire, seeing more than a few friends die, and being injured himself.
He would give us bits and pieces, but not a lot of the bad parts.
He returned from Iraq in September of '07 and seemed fine for the first couple of months. But by the first of the year had started isolating himself from family, no longer spending social time with friends as he had before. He spent time at Fort Lewis in Washington and then at Fort Benning, his mental state deteriorating.
There was numerous suicide attempts, numerous hospitalizations.
Over a span of more than 2 years, and after each one, once considered stabilized, Robert Quinones was sent back to his unit to resume his duties. His mother questions why he was never sent to a warrior transition unit, where he could be with other soldiers like himself and receive more intensive counseling.
Why keep him in a regular unit where, by this time, he's an 11 Bravo, which is infantry, can't carry a weapon, can't be around weapons or anything like that, because of the suicide attempts.
Finally, in February of 2010, Robert Quinones is medically retired. He moves into his family's home in Hinesville, but things seem to go from bad to worse.
I didn't know if he'd ever reach his 30th birthday, because I thought having him come home would make a big difference, but it wasn't. I mean, he tried so hard. to do what was expected of him. He tried so hard to be normal, and he would drive to from here to Fort Stewart, you know. But other than that, to drive to Walmart or this or that, you know, which is only a mile down the road, he was just too nervous with this.
She describes seeing him sometimes checking the side of the road for foreign objects.
And restaurants were totally out of the question. He couldn't be around a lot of people.
Her son's life at the age of 29 consisted mostly of going to work, going home, and going to doctor's appointments through the VA all over the region, meaning trips to Charleston, Augusta, and Savannah.
He didn't have an appointment that I didn't take him to. He didn't miss an appointment. We went everywhere they told us to go.
And he wasn't getting better.
He wasn't getting better.
She says he couldn't sleep and felt so drugged by the medications he could barely function, but she's not sure what finally caused him to break.
I've had a lot of time to, you know, think back over things and try to figure out, you know, how did he get to this point?
And she doesn't know what the future holds. As he sits in the Bullitt County Jail awaiting trial on federal charges, she keeps her son's room essentially as he left it. A few books were confiscated by authorities from his extensive collection on war and law enforcement tactics. The remaining guns belonging to both him and his father were taken as well from the gun cabinets in his room. In their place, Christmas presents, a pile which continues to grow.
I wanted it to be just like it was. When he came home, he would walk in and everything's still in its place.
So you have hope that he will be coming.
He's going to come home. He's going to have Christmas. He's going to have Easter. You know, we're not skipping any holidays.
She doesn't know for certain when or if he will return home, but she does know she's grateful to Major Shelton that the possibility exists.
Within 10 minutes or so, or however long it was, he was able to figure out that, you know, my son, he just wanted somebody to talk to. He wanted somebody that would listen. You know what's so bad about all this is he don't remember.
He doesn't remember doing it? He doesn't remember walking in there?
The man who spent nearly 2 hours talking to Robert Quinones says his experience treating soldiers with PTSD leads him to believe that is possible, that this soldier is a classic case of PTSD who exhibited the signs of being in a psychotic episode that morning. And he believes many soldiers he's treated over the years could be in Robert Quinones' place. That's why he promised to fight for the man who held him at gunpoint that morning. That's why he's keeping his word.
A lot of broken soldiers, so there are a lot of invisible injuries. You know, people see just because a soldier's walking, oh, and they see no visible harms, they think he's fine, but he's not. There are more wounds.
Emotional and psychological wounds Janet Gladwell has seen up close and personal. Now she hopes, against hope, that her son can reclaim his life.
Just get him into therapy. You know, just get somebody that can help him to get all this out so that he'll, you know, he can learn to live with it. And you know, so he can get to a point where he wants to live.